He's not wrong. What's going on? Welcome to the program. A tremendous Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend and your week's off to a good start. Great to be here.
California,
and as always, great to have you here. Right, that guy. This show is presented by FanDuel. Because without FanDuel, we could not do what we do. So tremendous appreciation to them and what they do for us. All right, lots of show for you on this Monday. Let me get you started by saying the first hour is wide open. So if you want to get up in here and you know all the different ways to get up in here, I will remind you of them momentarily. We do not have an interview until the start of hour number 2. So the first hour is wide open to you. You should take advantage of it. If you're here, why not do something with it? Instead of being so passive, instead of letting me do all the work and letting us handle the heavy lift, get up in here and do something for the jungle. 1-800-636-8686. I know a lot of you don't like to get on the phone anymore, but it's still there. Just know it's still there if you want it. If you want to get to the X, that is still there if you want it. Find me on the X platform at Jim Rome. If you want to email me, that is still there. Rome, R-O-M-E at habitate.com. And most of all, you know what's still there? And it only started a number of weeks back, the chat, the live chat on our YouTube channel. We are airing this show live on YouTube. That is still the very best way, the easiest way, and the best way to find the show on the internet. Go to our YouTube channel at Jim Rome, jump up in the chat, and while you're there, if you don't mind, can I get you to hit the subscribe button? Because that does benefit us, and that helps us overall. So those are the different ways to get involved. In terms of the interviews, coming up at the top of hour number 2, LA Rams GM Les Snead. Big Les Snead house, you know that. We will have that at the top of hour 2. Also coming up in hour number 2, an NBA reporter for ESPN, Dave McMenamin. And he has been covering LeBron for a number of years. Cleveland, LA, and he'll have some specific insight, I'm sure, into LeBron, the decision, and where those teams go that did not win out on that. What does it mean to Philadelphia? Why did he pick Philadelphia? And all of that. And it's a Monday, so we'll have an ATP too. Get on the phones, unless you're Larry. Hang up, Larry. 1-800-636-8686. All right, so here's where I want to start. I'm going to start today with the so-called GOAT. Now, hold up. Hold up. Before you all start freaking out and going all Hope Solo and melting down, then I'm going to waste another 10 or 12 minutes of your lives talking about Le Cap. That is not who I am talking about. That is not the alleged GOAT that I'm talking about. Today, I'm talking about Bill the GOAT.
Bill the GOAT!
A.K.A. the Hood Man, a.k.a. the dude who appears to be running the North Carolina football program right into the ground. Because the big news of the day is that Hoodman's longtime wingman and GM of that program, Mike Lombardi, has been put on administrative leave by the university. In other words, let me save you clones the trouble. If you're getting ready for work right now, then you're probably not Mike Lombardi. Now, that brings me no joy to say, but for some reason, it brings a ton of joy for many of you to hear. As a friend of the program, Andy Staples posted on the X this AM, quote, "Not sure I remember the last piece of college football breaking news where so many people, from fans to people in the football business, reacted with this much glee." End of quote. It's a hell of a post. It's a hell of a post because as good as Andy Staples is at his job, and he's really good at his job, my dude is not prone to hyperbole, over-the-top analysis, or hot takes. And from the sounds of it, folks have a real problem with Mike Lombardi. Lots of folks. Now, y'all know I'm not one of them. I've always been good with Mike. Mike's been coming on this show for a very long time. He's even come and hung out in person at Super Bowl. So I've got no personal issue with Mike. but it sure seems like a lot of other people do. I'm just not one of them. Now, I also have no idea what actually went down at North Carolina to lead Lombardi to be put on administrative leave. Paid administrative leave. All we know at this point is that the leave reportedly stems from an HR complaint filed by a former UNC front office employee. We don't know any more than that at this point, and I'm not going to be reckless and speculate based on having almost no information. However, what I can do, and this is not reckless, this is warranted, what I can do is talk about the entire state of that program, which continues to be an absolute catastrophe since the moment they turned it over to the so-called coaching GOAT, who is getting harder and harder to defend as the coaching GOAT, considering the struggle he's having in the ACC right now. A struggle that is becoming a life and death struggle, at least as it relates to his coaching life. The greatest football coach of all time is struggling to keep together at North Carolina? Now that's pretty wild. I can take it a step further. The alleged greatest football coach of all time is probably coaching for his job right now in North Carolina. I know that sounds insane. At North Carolina, did I make that point? I know that sounds insane, but is it really? This dude needs dubs, and he needs them stat. And yes, he absolutely can get sawed off if he does not deliver a major improvement on that 4-8 bleep show last year. I absolutely can see him getting sawed off if he can't get this team to at least to a bowl and give people at least some reason to believe that he can actually lead a college program, that people actually will buy in and respond to him. Because right now, there's a hell of a lot of evidence to the contrary. Not a lot of evidence that the Hoodman is actually capable of doing this job. Even this job. Let me put it to you this way. There is way more evidence that he's way out of his depth in college than there's evidence that this guy's suddenly going to turn it all around and it's all going to come together and just click in year two. And that the Tar Heels are finally going to get a return on their massive investment in the once thought of GOAT. Anyone who believed that this was about to be a huge turnaround season for the Heels has got to be questioning things right now, right? Because Mike Lombardi, the GM, suddenly getting swept up in some university administrative business and having to go on sudden leave does not exactly scream UNC finally has its act together, does it? It actually screams the opposite. And more of the same exact nonsense that we have seen since the very moment the Hoodman shockingly accepted that job and showed up on campus. Yes, Hoodman still has 6 rings. No, nobody will ever be able to take those away. Yes, of course, he's still going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer, even if he hilarious didn't make it in on the first try. I'm not saying that the last couple of years erases that, even changes that, but the last couple of years definitely will change the way we see this guy, view this guy, remember this guy. The last couple of years don't erase all those accomplishments, but I do think they ding his legacy badly. Because think about this. How are you going to remember this guy now? Going forward, unless something dramatically changes, when you think of him, what is the first thing that's going to come to mind? Is it going to be the incredible run of success that he had in New England? Or is it going to be the fact that no sooner than Tom Brady dumped him, he went off on his own and immediately won a ring without Belichick? Or is it the fact that the dude was horrendous in New England without Bacon Face? Or that the dude actually let Matt Patricia run an NFL offense? Or is the first thing you think of the Hood's co-ed girlfriend and their creepy beach yoga pics and her cheer competitions? Or maybe the lasting image of the Hood Man burned into all of our minds, our mental hard drives, will be his man boobs on that ring cam. Point is, I don't think people are going to think, first and foremost, of this dude holding up the Lombardi with all that confetti falling all around him. Somehow, I just don't think people are going to remember him as that fierce champion who led the Patriots dynasty when all of this other nonsense is way more fresh in the memory. Not saying those things didn't happen. Not saying we're going to forget those things happened. I'm just saying that's not the first thing we're going to think of when we think of this guy, unless he gets right stat. I mean, hell, even the NFL itself doesn't see the GOAT as the GOAT anymore. The NFL, take the greatest coach in NFL history. If that's the case, why did the NFL want nothing to do with this guy? Nothing. Hence, that's why he could only get one interview to get another job, and he didn't even finish in the top 3 when the Falcons hired Raheem Morris, which, of course, he's already been fired. But we'll remember this. If you're watching on the stream, who's ever going to forget that visual? Find me one NFL visual that's more ingrained in your mental hard drive than that one. Him on the ring cam without the shirt and the moves flopping in the wind. No! We can never unsee that. The NFL itself stopped seeing this dude as the GOAT pretty long time ago. If he's the GOAT, why the hell did no one in the NFL have any interest in hiring him? And by the way, it's not exactly like elite blue chip college football programs were lined up and foaming at the mouth to bring this dude in either. Case in point, he had to settle for the UNC job. That was the best offer the alleged NFL coaching GOAT could get. North Carolina. No offense to North Carolina. All right, maybe a little offense to you, North Carolina, because your last coach was an amazing human being and a consummate professional and a national champion with real top-level college football accomplishments under his belt. And yet you ran that guy off. You chased that dude out of town so you could hire Hoodman and his cronies in Chapel Hill. You know what never happened under Mac Brown's watch? A 4-win season. No, it took bringing in the so-called GOAT and throwing a $50 million contract at him for North Carolina to experience that 4-win season. Something tells me North Carolina is regretting it all right about now. A lot of buyer's remorse. Something tells me North Carolina is probably looking for the first off-ramp on this highway to hoodie hell. Which means, Hoodman, you're officially coaching for your gig right about now. GOAT is if you haven't dented your legacy enough. Man, can you imagine? Just wait until you get run through the wood chipper in Chapel Hill as well. I mean, one thing for old man Bob Kraft to run you off and saw you off. But what if UNC did it after only 2 years? And then if that does happen, can we assume that your girlfriend, Jordan, will be the next one to fire your ass?
Not talking about this.
Remember, his son, Steven the Facelicker, left a really good job at Washington to join your dumpster fire. Watch the Facelicker fire you too, as his dad. Like, Jordan could fire you as the alleged boyfriend, especially if you can't get anything going to keep her interested. And I don't think 4 wins a year is going to keep her interest. And then what if the Facelicker were to fire you as his actual dad? Dude, you blow this job, you might even get fired by Nike the dog. Even little Nike thinks you're a bad look for him. And he's a dog. So my advice to you, my guy, coach him up, Hood. Coach him up. Coach him up like you're going to get guillotined if things don't work out this season. Coach him up like your job depends upon it, because it probably does. And your legacy, too. So again, I don't know exactly what happened with Mike Lombardi, nor am I going to speculate because that'd be reckless and unfair, and that's not what I do around here. But it is further evidence that things are not under control there. That the Hood does not have everything under control. You know what's amazing to me about the Hood, too? When he was with the Patriots, man, that control monger controlled everything. How do I know? Just look at the way Tom Brady's acting out right now. It's like Brady couldn't do anything, couldn't say anything, had to be this guy this whole time. And then he gets out and he goes to Tampa, and then we see a little bit of what he really was like. And then once he finishes off, now look at him. Now the guy's completely out of hand and out of control. And why not? I mean, the guy had been suppressed for a quarter century. But it's because the Hood man controlled everything the Patriot way. So if you controlled everything in a pro franchise, how do you have no control in a college program? Wild times. Anyway, there are a lot of people that are celebrating what they think is Lombardi's demise. Like I said, Mike and I have always done well. Mike's always come on this show. And I'm not going to defend what he did if he did something abhorrent. I just don't know what he did. I don't know what he did. I don't know if it was somebody who had an axe to grind or if it was something legit. I just know that he's on paid administrative leave. And whereas there's never a good time for that to happen, now is really not a good time for that to happen. Not if you're that guy with that program this close to the start of the year. All right, so if you want to jump up in here and share your thoughts on that, go ahead. Other things I want to talk about. The Niners. Weird stuff, right? Also, again, I'm not going to speculate on what happened to the Junior Lobster. We know he was involved in a really bad car accident. A really bad car accident. What we don't know is what caused it. What we don't know is why it took so long for all of us to find out about it. Put it this way. There are a lot of questions and really not a single answer given by the team or the media even. Like, did the media really not know that that happened? That's kind of weird. The whole thing's kind of weird. But I'm not going to speculate again on things that I don't know. I just don't remember the last time an NFL head coach was in the protocol. Anyway, I want to get into that. And I actually have a way to turn that story, as sketchy as it seems, on its head and into a positive, because that's what I do. I'm positive. Also, we know the world that we live in right now. People have nothing better to do than farm and engage for clicks. We know this. Even for things that don't seem to matter that much, like, I don't know, the Browns quarterback situation. But there was Jerry Jeudy on a stream and answering questions verbally and non-verbally, and then he kind of flashed a 4, and then everybody went wild and said he picked the quarterback he wants. And Judy's saying that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Another sketchy edit. So I want to get into that. Tragedy once again involving the Chiefs and Eric Bieniemy and his family. I want to talk briefly about that story too. I've got Les Snead coming up. I've got Dave McMenamin coming up. And all sorts of opportunities for you to get through. And you know all the ways to get through. Hit me on the phones, hit me on the X, hit me on email, hit me in the chat. Super chats, go to the front of the line. I'll just say that. That's the first time I've ever solicited that. Super chats, go to the front of the line. Right now, O'Reilly Auto Parts gets you back to savings. Purchasing 5 quarts of Syntec full synthetic motor oil and receive a free MicroGuard Select oil filter. Limits do apply. See store for details. You can also save 20% on a MicroGuard or MicroGuard Select engine air filter when purchased with their Syntec oil and filter special. The professional parts people can recommend all the supplies you need for your vehicle, so stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
one. I gave you a topic. Hey, listen, you don't need to make this thing so linear, right? You don't need to look at this like, all right, there's a topic. Let's respond to that topic. If you want to go over there or go over here and bring up something else, do it. Go right ahead. I'm here for all of it. I just need to start with something every single day. All right, so reaction at 11 Hondo. Again, this is right off the chat. Again, I'm not picking the chat because I'm trying to steer you to the chat. It's really important. A very important distinction. Some of you on X are saying things like, hey, Rome, what about us? What about X? Forget about us. No. When we brought the show to YouTube and I started the chat, I said this doesn't change anything as it relates to engagement. You can still engage the same way that you've always engaged if that's what you want to do, except people love the chat. And what I'm finding is, for whatever reason, the chat submissions are better than any of the other submissions. That's why they go first. This is not part of some agenda I have to steer you over there. They're just better. And like I always say, whatever is best is going to go to the front of the line. Anything that makes the show better is going to go first. 11 Hondo. Belichick deciding to join in the baggery after Tom Brady started 2 weeks ago. How? What? All right, I take back everything I just said about the chat. How? How does his right-hand guy being run off on paid administrative leave make Belichick in the baggery with Tom Baggy?
Man.
That makes no sense at all. You know that whole thing. I'll tell you what else. I never really engaged in this, like, who's more responsible for the dynasty? Belichick or Brady? We've long since answered that question. But the fact of the matter is, it's more than just a football thing. It really is a life thing. Look at the trajectory of these two dudes since they separated. Brady goes off and immediately gets another ring. Belichick runs his team right into the ground. And say what you want about Tom Baggy, and he's doing some things that I think are really beneath him, honestly. But again, it's his life, it's his legacy. But you can't say he's losing. I would argue that he's made some really odd choices. The roast, him getting into it with Logan Paul and acting like that we're going to buy this feud as something legit. Like, how is that not beneath that guy? But he's having the time of his life. And he is winning. He's a minority owner of an NFL franchise, obviously with power and authority. He's the #1 lead analyst for a network. He's involved in all these other teams and things and businesses. He can bag it up with Logan Paul. What's Belichick getting out of this? How is he winning? Where is he winning other than his recruitment of his co-ed girlfriend? And I wonder how that's going. Haven't heard anything about that in a long time. At Billy Webb, 9388. That's because he doesn't care about that job. I really wonder why he took that job. They're not going to win 6 games to get to a bowl. See, I don't know. I think he does care about the job. I think that not as much as he used to. Because it seems to me on the outside looking in, the time that he spends with her. I mean, listen, this guy was the epitome of do your job. Eliminate the noise. No distractions. What is this? If you're looking at this on the stream and you're seeing some of that beach yoga, is that not a distraction? Is that not noise? Believe me, there was a lot of noise after that thing went viral. Is that doing your job? He wasn't doing things like that when he coached in the NFL. Nor would he have tolerated that from his players. So obviously, I don't think he cares as much. Understandably, right? He's got his 6 rings. He's in his 70s. But I don't think it means he doesn't care. I think he still cares. But not as much. Now, in terms of why did he take that job? Part of me wondered the same thing. When he took that job, I would say on this show over and over and over again, I'll believe it when I see him standing on the sideline. Like, I can't believe this. Like, that's the best that guy can do? North Carolina? He wants that job? I'll believe it when I see him standing on the sidelines. But then we did. So then there you have it. So why does he want that job? I don't know. I'm not inside that guy's head. It seems to me it went so badly in New England in the end that he got run off by Bob Kraft so badly. I mean, the guy's got a lot of pride and a lot of ego, and I can't imagine that he wanted to go out like that, obviously. And then when he couldn't get a job in the NFL, that only compounded matters. Then he looked even worse, right? One thing to get run out of New England when he had a dynasty, another to not get anybody to consider him seriously in the NFL. So now the guy's run the team into the ground. He's been run out of town, and he can't get the time of day from anybody in that league. And he's the GOAT. What do you expect him to go to Nantucket and just walk off and sit on a beach or play golf? No. The guy didn't want to go out like that. So then he goes, all right, I'll go to the college ranks. Yeah, I'm sure one of these top SEC schools will call me. I'm sure I'll get an offer from the Big Ten. Best he can get is Carolina. So he's probably thinking, all right, I turned this thing into a juggernaut. Never forget, Mike Lombardi famously and regrettably said, we're going to turn this into the NFL's 33rd franchise. Man, did that quote ever age horribly. But maybe Belichick's thinking, I go in there, I work a miracle, I pull a Kurt Signetti, and then I'm back. And I go out on my own terms. Or the NFL will actually bring me back. And they're paying him $10 million a year. And maybe needs a new challenge. And by the way, what has the guy ever done other than some beach yoga, a little bit of golf, a little bit of boating, a little bit of moving, and football? Like, the guy studied at his dad's side breaking down film when he was like 4. What was he going to do? He had to do something involved with football. It just has all gone to hell. Here's a super chat. My man, Brading84, chipped me off $4.99. Appreciate you, bro. You didn't have to. But it did get you right to the front of the line. War Alvin for keeping his job. A lot of mouths depend on that jungle money. Yeah. Dude. Good point. Alvy does have a lot of mouths to feed. And he dodged that scud last week. Good point. The Rooster's in. Rome. All men know that the woman has control. That's why he no longer has control. Jordan does. Well, you know where I come out on that. It is undefeated. That's not some hot take. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact, man. That's a fact. Look it up. When has it ever lost? Like Father Time. When has that ever lost? Now, is that the reason why this has all gone to hell for him? I don't know that. Is she a distraction? Yeah, how about this? Again, I will be the voice of reason. Is she a distraction or could she be his muse? What if she's an inspiration for all this and he just doesn't have it in him? He just can't do it. What if she's actually inspiring him and not distracting him? Or what if she's the biggest distraction ever? I don't really know. You know what all I know? All I know is scoreboard. They're horrible. The program, he will leave it in worse shape than he inherited it if this does not change dramatically. He's making it all worse, not better, if it doesn't change dramatically. This is why I said, yo, Hood, coach him up. Coach him up as if your gig depends upon it, because it might. And if this guy were then run out of New England, run out of the NFL, and run out of the ACC, wow, man, that is an incredible fall from grace for the alleged GOAT. That yellow blazer is going to have a very interesting fit, won't it? And add insult to injury. Wait till Kraft gets in before him. I mean, I know we all want them to go in at the same time because it'll be so awkward. Oh, look at this dude. Yo, big spender. Gabriel Maldonado, 250. My man just chipped me off $9.99. Now there's a super chat. Hey, Gabe, thanks, dude. Didn't have to. What's up, Rome? New clone here, fresh off the mothership. My first impression of this show was the Tiger Woods alarm.
We see cat, mate.
Also,
We see cat, mate.
here is $1.
We see cat, mate.
Go get yourself a bag, or better yet, never worry about the bag again.
We see cat, mate. We see cat, mate. We see cat,
Who,
mate.
me?
Hey, Gabe, I got bad news for you, brother. You actually sent me $10, not one. Unless you misprinted your one and you know you sent 10.
Cat, mate. We see cat, mate. We see
Tiger,
cat, mate.
Tiger line was good though.
We see cat, mate. We see cat, mate.
Hey, come on.
We see
Hey,
cat,
Gabe,
mate.
if you're new around here, welcome. And if you're a first impression of the show or first thing you experienced on the show was the Tiger alarm, pretty good, right?
We see cat, mate.
Hey, Gabe, where else?
We see cat, mate.
If you've been around, where else are you going to find that? Nowhere. Nowhere.
Cat, mate.
So in terms of, here's a buck, go get yourself a bag.
We see cat, mate.
Bad news, brother. You sent me $10.
Brother.
We see
Or if you sent me $10 and you meant to send me $1 and you want $9 back, no refund. We don't have a refund policy here, dude.
cat, mate.
What you send, I get. Or whatever, I get whatever YouTube doesn't take. Anyway, good to have you here, Gabe. Hey, man, you got on. Certainly that was worth $10. Do you know what advertisers have to pay to get that kind of airtime?
We see cat, mate.
It was worth it.
We see cat, mate.
I mean, dude, we see cat mate. How many times did you just hear that?
Cat, mate.
You should be happy with yourself. Rare breed strength, quote, Belichick has a fall guy. That's not true.
If y'all got a crew, you got to have a fall guy.
That's
in
Chris
the
Carter
crew.
with a pretty ridiculous take.
If you gonna have a crew,
But I'm not saying it's not true.
who gonna be the fall guy,
Crews do have fall guys.
okay?
Like if you want to live the life, if you're part of the crew and you want to live the life and you want to get all the bennies and perks of being a sycophant and somebody who sucks up to the guy,
Don't have a crew.
that if it all goes down, somebody's got to jump on that grenade.
Happen to you.
Somebody.
Your name
Somebody in that crew, whoever it is, has got to be that fall guy. Somebody's got to jump on that grenade. Somebody has to take the fall. I'm not saying he's wrong. What I'm saying is that's not what Lombardi's doing because it was HR, the university, that put him on administrative leave and not Belichick. The fall guy, presumably, if the fall guy falls on the grenade and all of his limbs get blown off, that presumably would take some of the heat off the guy. This isn't taking heat off the guy. All this did was give me an opportunity to do an entire take off the very top about what a miserable failure he's been so far. What heat did that take off him? I wasn't going to talk about Belichick today. Belichick was not on my radar today. That didn't take any heat off him. It just made things so much worse. All right, when we come back, we're still open in hour number 1. Les Snead, top of hour number 2. Hey, Alvy, I got an announcement. Thank you. Baseball fans, think you know who's hitting a homer today? Well, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. You've got nothing to lose and a whole lot to gain. And don't forget, you can make a free pick every day during the MLB season. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home for home runs. So are you ready to play your game today? I already have. I'm in that app every single morning. I love it. Join all the action. Join me and everybody else at FanDuel.com/Rome. That's FanDuel.com/Rome to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB.
21 plus, select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus, D.C., Kentucky, Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org Maryland. Visit gamblinghelpline.ma.org. Call 800-327-5050 Massachusetts. Call 1-8778-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY New York. Call 1-8777-867 Louisiana.
Quick reminder that Mondays are ATP days. Ask the Pros. where you get to post a question at Jim Rome and use the hashtag #AskThePros on X, and then listen later on when one of your questions might be answered by me or somebody on the crew or all the above. And always think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, so some horrific news this morning. Horrific story today where the son of Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, Elijah Zion Bieniemy, 27, allegedly shot his mother and Eric's wife Mia multiple times in their home in Virginia. The couple lives there. Mia reportedly was hospitalized with, quote, serious injuries, while Elijah was arrested and charged with malicious wounding, using a firearm in commission of a felony, and discharge of a firearm inside of a dwelling. He reportedly is being held without bond. Now, again, I have absolutely no idea what happened or what could have led to something so tragic, but that is about as horrific as it gets. A son shooting his own mother multiple times, leaving her severely injured. That's obviously your top concern, the health of the wounded. Then you have a husband and a father who has to be absolutely mortified that his wife has been shot multiple times in her own home by her own son. Again, that is about as horrific as it gets. And never mind a playbook. I would never go to something as cliche as that. Never mind a playbook, but there's nothing in life that could prepare you for that phone call, for something that horrific. So we will continue to monitor that as details become available. But what an absolutely tragic, catastrophic story. Eric Bieniemy was with the team previously, but obviously left the team to return home. 1-800-636-8686. So there is no convenient segue coming off that. I will say a number of you have found the Super Chat. What the Super Chat is, and again, this is not my idea. I did not implement this because I'm a little bit late to the YT. Better late than never. I'm glad I got here. But on YouTube, in chat, if you make a donation or have a Super Chat, and you can just determine whatever amount it is. And again, I'm not soliciting it, but what it does do is it gets you right to the front of the line. Like this guy, Pixel the Clown, 2635. He paid me $10. Thanks, Clown. Sincerely. 28-year clone here, Mr. Rome. Great as the show has been, for as long as I've been listening, it truly has never been better than now. Mad respect, brother. Dude, that is amazing praise. Thank you very much for saying that. And I appreciate your appreciation of the program with that 10 spot. Here's another one. Andy Waldron. 10 more bucks. Damn, it's getting nice up in here. Rome. Just understand this. I don't even understand how the splits work. I don't even know if that $10 how much I get. $1, $2, I have no idea. Rome, been listening to you since the 90s. I remember your first tour stop in Buglehall. Better. Tell Larry Parody to get a life.
Tell that clone to get a life.
Bro, I kind of have in so many ways. The fact that I leave him on hold every single day for the entire program, does that not insinuate that I'm telling him to get a life? I just don't want to hurt his feelings and go, hey, bro, get a life. All my actions should let you know, or more importantly, let him know that what I'm saying is get a life. It's essentially as clear as I can be about it without actually saying it. But, bro, you just paid $10. You can say whatever the hell you want. Bad news. You can say whatever the hell you want for free. But I might not see it. For $10, I will absolutely see it. This guy writes, is that S6883, quote, $4.99 for a Mangino joke? Used to cost a new phone. Oh, look who's here. The Queen has entered the chat at Nika989. Quote, What I miss? What up, Queen? What up, Neeks? Neeks, what took you so long? What did you miss? Pretty much everything. Even over the last 4 or 6 weeks. Anyway, Neeks, what you missed was we added the show to YouTube. The show. Not just the pods or clips. The entire show. Live on YouTube. And along with that, ease of use. You have yourself a chat, which you found. So get up here in the chat. That's what you missed. That's the biggest thing we've done lately as part of our evolution and reinvention. We added the platform, YouTube. The show is airing live every single day on YouTube. Best way to watch the show on the internet. Now, again, if that doesn't work for you and you like watching it on another platform, we do have 8 other visual platforms. If you want to listen on terrestrial radio, you can do that. If you want to listen on satellite radio, you can do that. Or you can mix and match. Whatever works for you. When we come back, Rams GM Les Snead. Stay tuned. He's not wrong. Hey, let me remind you, I am Jim Rome. We are on Westwood One. We are also on Sirius XM. We are also on the Rome TV channel, which has 8 platforms. And we are now on YouTube, airing live with your chat. Nice to have you here. The program is brought to you by FanDuel. My thanks to my friends at FanDuel. All right, so if you're on hold, stay there. If you want to engage any way you want. But I'm fired up for this. We start hour number 2 by having a conversation with the general manager of the LA Rams. He is a Super Bowl champ from 2022. The Rams also played in the Super Bowl in 2019. He is the winningest GM in franchise history. He is entering his 15th season as Rams GM. The Rams have made the playoffs 7 of the last 9 years, including the NFC Championship game last year. You know I'm talking about Les Snead. Les, always good to see you. Les, you've had some kind of an offseason. I got to ask you, man, did you get a chance to enjoy your summer at all?
You know, after that offseason, the summer was really good.
Okay.
It was able to get away, relax, get refreshed, and here we are at camp ready to, I call it push that boulder up the hill, see how far we can get that thing up to the top of the mountain.
Hey, Les, I want to ask something about the boulder. Since you mentioned that, when you push that thing up the hill, are you happy when it gets up the hill, or is there a part of you that wants that thing to roll back down so you can push it right back up the hill?
You know, if you get into the mythology, right, the whole thing, you're supposed to enjoy the journey. So it's the push that's the fulfilling part. Obviously, getting it to the top tastes very good. Now, if I continue the football metaphor, always go when the season's over. Whenever it goes 0.00 on the clock, and you either won or lost your final game, I always say the boulder rolls all the way back down the bottom. So I can tell you that stinks. That feeling it's just something about it. You don't want to live through that one.
Hey, Les, how long do you sit in that feeling? When that thing comes back down and you didn't win the last game, and that sucks, and you're at 0.0, how long do you sit in that before you start pushing that rock back up the hill?
It's probably case by case. Sometimes you can sometimes you can exceed expectations, and maybe the pain's not as long. Sometimes you can maybe miss the mark, and then there's an element of like, this is going to be a 10 to 14 day where you wake up and there's physical pain. Now, eventually you're going to, so I think someone said it one time, the pain will be gone, but the scar will always be there. But there is that time where I call it, it's like you're breaking up with a girlfriend or something where, wow, you wake up and there's physical pain in your gut for some reason. So
Okay.
You sit in it, it's going to end, it's going to dissipate. And at that point is when you start really trying to, let's call it, write down the lessons learned. And is there anything you can apply to move forward?
It's so interesting. I'm just kind of following you around right here. Les Snead joining us. Like, when you have scar tissue, like, that can callous. That can be a good thing, right? Like, you callous with a scar, but do you really suffer physical pain, you personally, when things don't go well?
Oh, there's definitely that, especially when it comes to losing. Losing a game, there's just something about it. That's competing. We've all done it. Even if you've only competed in a high school sport, you can remember, right, how the losses just. If let's just say you're doing high school football, Friday nights, if you lost for some reason, Saturday morning, it was just a bad Saturday. Where if you won on that Friday night, the Friday night and the Saturday morning was just a little bit better. So sometimes I often say, especially at my age, into the mid-50s, it's like, okay, why are you still putting yourself out there to do this? But I can say the competition is addicting. The journey is fulfilling, especially when you're trying to bring together, right, a lot of highly competent people to do something very meaningful. That's always going to be a fulfilling journey, no matter how steep the climb is.
Les Snead joining us.
I don't know how we got here, Jim.
I know exactly how we got here. One, you and I are both good at our respective jobs, and I'm curious. I'm curious what makes high achievers, or do you mean another place, how we got here? I mean, how did we get here in this part of the conversation, or how did we get here with The Rock and you being in your mid-50s? Because I was going to say next, Les, remember when Sean McVay went through that one stretch where he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to go on TV. I don't know if I'm burned out. Have you yourself ever gone through anything similar to that?
I probably haven't gone. I would say probably not to the intensity that Sean has gone through it. And if you know his personality, if we're going to keep doing metaphors, if you're a track and field person, Sean's whatever he does in life, he approaches it like it's an 800-meter race, right? Whatever it is, he's going to run an 800-meter full. And I'm sure I never did the 800. I've heard it. Now I've run 800, never any good at it, but I've been told it's a torture in terms of running. But it's not something you're going to compete at every single day. That's how he approaches probably everything he does in life, especially football. But he's done a really good job. We were talking about when we hired him, he was 30. He's 40 now. So over these 10 years, he's done a nice job of let's call it at least ramping himself up for those 800s and doing a little recovery in between.
We were talking to Les Snead, just so let you think that I didn't bring you on for all this philosophical stuff. I just find it really interesting. And again, it's part of my job to listen to the person that I'm talking to and then follow them up. But back to football specifically, after you made that NFC Championship game last year, you took an enormous Actually, Les, you took a number of enormous swings. Let me start with the future Hall of Famer, Myles Garrett. You finally get the whale, and I say that because when did you first start having discussions internally about Myles Garrett, and how long have you kind of been chasing him?
I think I would say that realistically the first time was after that first Super Bowl. And it's interesting. You're one of the first when you said, "Hey, the 2022 Super Bowl, 2019." It was a 21 season, so a lot of people don't say the 22 Super Bowl, which is actually the fact. But it was after that season. There's always been, let's call it, some rumblings that maybe Myles Garrett, maybe you could trade for him. Maybe he was on the block. Nothing ever really serious. So when we were going fishing for the whale, it was probably more just an adventure. You probably knew you weren't going to catch the whale, but that was then. This is now a different chapter in Cleveland's let's call it building process. A different chapter in Myles' life, and it came together at the right time where it was, especially for us where we're at, what we want to accomplish, who we've been, our phase, and where they're at as an organization, and what they want to do in terms of thinking maybe the better years are more into the future than the present. So it definitely worked out.
Makes sense, right? Maybe it didn't make sense back then, but it makes sense for everybody right now. Les Snead joining us. So, Les, of course, there's been a lot of speculation about the potential return of another future Hall of Famer, another generational talent in Aaron Donald. Can I just ask you, what does your gut tell you? Do you expect him to be in a Ram uniform next year?
I don't want to make a prediction. What I can say, though, is this is probably the first time since he has retired that he is truly tempted, that maybe the itch is back and he wants to scratch it. And I can't say, which is really interesting when that final whistle blew in that year where it went to 0.000 and we were Super Bowl champions. It was so fulfilling to see how much it meant to Aaron Donald, because that's all he ever wanted was a bite at that apple. He wanted to taste what it felt like. And again, as an individual, he had probably accomplished everything you can in terms of the position he plays, and will probably be a first ballot Hall of Fame. So it is really, really surreal and interesting and really cool to think that, oh, wow, he is tempted to come back and maybe jump back on the bus and try to go do something meaningful one more time.
It's a great explanation, Les. I want to ask you, so because he's so intentional about everything he does, ultimately, what do you think his decision will come down to?
I think what he wants to do is, at the end of the day, he would articulate it this way: is how close is he to who he was when he did retire? Because let's just say let's say there's a scale of 1 to 10. We all said he was a 10. Maybe we all said he was a 12 out of 10. That's just who he was. I know this. He would want to be as close to that 12 as possible. And the way his personality is this: if he was a 12 out of 10, if he came back and he felt like he was going to be a 10.8, he might not do it. So I think that's what he's going through right now is how close can he be to being an impactful football player for the Los Angeles Rams if he does decide to come back.
We were talking to Les Snead for a few more moments, and I appreciate it. Les, Lee, I think almost getting lost, and you don't get lost because this guy's such a great player, but in Trent McDuffie, How would you compare his first 4 years in the league to others that you've seen play that position? In other words, what did you see on the tape that made you like him so much and want him so much?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you call it the process of watching him, I think when we first started doing him at the University of Washington, we didn't have a first round pick based on some of the things we did back then that we kind of let's call it rejuvenated this offseason. So, but you knew he was just a quality, great human, but just as good a football player. And then you obviously getting to Kansas City, not only playing similar to Aaron Donald, being very good individually at his position, but also being a part of an organization, a team that has accomplished a lot in a very competitive AFC. So to see really not necessarily I call it exceed expectations, but to see someone like him come in and meet expectations based on who he was in college, based on where he was drafted, and just to carry that over. And it's almost one of those, I want to call it boring watches. It's like, you know what? He just showed up and did it every single day as consistently as possible.
Les Snead joining me. Les, really quickly, what about Matthew Stafford? So you extend him. He's coming off an amazing year. He's playing incredible ball. Don't mistake this question, but obviously you think maybe he wants to play 2 years, so you don't extend him. Obviously, he wouldn't be happy about that if he didn't want to play 2 years, but having another year doesn't mean he's going to play 2 years. Do you think he has it in his mind that everything being equal, he does want to play 2 more years?
I think Matthew, we've kind of got the agreement. He likes to take it a year at a time. And the reason is, and I will say this about Matthew, I think when Matthew's age 60, and he goes to do some Thanksgiving, let's call it turkey bowl with his buddies on a Thanksgiving day, and he's age 60, I think he'll still be able to throw a fastball. That ball will have velocity and power. But I think the amount of energy that he spends getting ready, not just physically, but mentally, to play the position like he does and how his expectations, it takes a lot. Very similar to Sean running that 800 meter. Matthew treats the season like an 800 meter race. So I think it's really helpful for him to take it. You know what? Let me just do 800 at a time. And when I'm done with that, let's see how we feel, see where we're at, and see if we want to do it again. But I wouldn't be. Matthew will be able to play. He'll be able to throw a football very well, very with a lot of velocity in an accurate manner for a lot of years to come. It's just, does he want to play at age 65? I doubt that.
LeBron does. So I was going to say, I always ask athletes, Les, what goes first? You know, your ability to do what you've always done or your will to prepare. That's always interesting. One last thought, if you don't mind, Les, and I appreciate you so much. One of the main reasons your line, F them picks, is so legendary, other than, well, nobody in your position's ever said anything so awesome, but it's in stark contrast to what everybody had always done, right? Everybody always hoarded their top picks and treated them like they were the holy grail. Where and when did you first start thinking, you know what, a star player is way more valuable to us than picks that may or may not pan out? And if there's a price to be paid down the road, then we'll deal with it down the road, but we want to win right now. When and where did that philosophy come from?
Well, I think first of all, to get to the point where you want to win right now, there's an element. Keeping it simple, most organizations go through some version of a build. Then they have that breakthrough year where maybe they've been building, they haven't been winning or haven't been making the playoffs. They make the playoffs for the first time. And then can you then begin to put 2 and 3 and 4 seasons back to back and contend? Once you get to that point, I think that's when you start thinking, hey, winning right. We're in this window, right, where we do know we have efficacy, we have evidence that the core that we're bringing back can win. Doesn't mean, again, the boulder's right now at the bottom of the mountain, so we still have to push that thing up in 2026. But up until now, and back when we did it, there was evidence that we could. And at that point too, when you bring in the draft picks, a lot of times when you are a winning organization, all the time when you are a winning organization in the NFL, you're going to be picking later. So let's just say the draft is somewhat accurate. I call it to get players like Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie. You're probably not going to be able to draft them because you're picking later. So what are you going to have to do? You're probably going to have to pay a little more to get those players. A lot of times they will get drafted by another organization, and at the end of the day, they go succeed there, and you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more than when they were drafted to get them to your organization, and that's kind of the nutshell, keeping it simple in what you're in what we're trying to do and what other teams are trying to do.
Hey, thanks for letting us in, Les. And by the way, efficacy. You and I will never play Scrabble together, ever. Great word right there.
You know what? I would bet the over on you versus myself in Scrabble. I might throw efficacy around, but I just got an intuition that, you know what, I'd be a little nervous.
Hey, don't double down on me with intuition, but efficacy, though, man, that's a winning word right there. And I like to think I'm a wordsmith. Les, I appreciate you. I appreciate the relationship. Sorry I took you off the rails to start the interview, but I really appreciate you coming on, Les. Thanks so much.
Always enjoy it.
Me too. Les
Thanks for having me.
Snead. That's why this is such a big Les Snead house. Love him. One of my favorite guys. That was so interesting, too. He always is, because he's Les bleeping Snead. F them picks. And now you know why.
F them picks.
He goes, in a nutshell, the very easy explanation is guys like Myles Garrett, Trent McDuffie, these guys are not easy guys to draft. So if you have a chance to get them and the window is open and you got to overpay to get them a little bit, why not do it? Good stuff. Appreciate you, Les. 1-800-636-8686 or, I'm just in the habit of always resaying the phone number. Use any of the other platforms or ways to get in. Love to hear from you. I've got Dave McMenamin coming up a little bit later on this hour. We'll talk about LeBron and the Sixers, perhaps the Lakers, and more. Do you want to boost your career prospects quickly? Who doesn't? Do you want to work your way toward a degree or supplement your skills with short-term credentials from University of Maryland Global Campus? Of course, skills-focused, career-ready undergraduate and graduate certificates can help you add specialized skills that employers value, all from an accredited state university. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start on August 12th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Once again, umgc.edu.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
We are joined right now by Sean Merriman. Sean, always good to chop it up with you, dude. How you feeling?
Jim, what's up, my man? How you doing, bro?
Good, dude. Good. Good to see you. Sean, I know you're a sports fan altogether, so let me start you off with the news of the day. What is your reaction to LeBron going to Philadelphia?
I think, just like everybody else, man, shocked, because they wasn't, from my understanding, they wasn't even a team that was in the running. We talked about Golden State, talked about Cleveland, possibly even going back to Miami. So when I saw that, I was shocked. And, man, look, I think he could be going there to chase a couple more rings or at least get one out of the 2 years that he signed. But I think it's something bigger than that. I think it's something there bigger than that because I'm looking at the money and what he's being paid over the next 2 years. I think there's something much bigger than that. I think there could be a situation like Jordan did when he went to the Wizards. We know that LeBron has been talking about at least owning part of a team or being involved in the team at some point. It could be. I just think there's something bigger there, man. I can't see that the rings are the only thing that he can potentially be going there for.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Like, he's going for the veteran minimum, and they said that he would not do that, and that's exactly what he did. Listen, the things that were available to him, Sean, were the NBA veteran minimum. I give him a lot of credit for that. Like, he doesn't need to do that. I think, that's a great question. So why? Why is he doing it? I think to chase a ring. I've got no issue with that. I think part of it is legacy, right? Get another ring, do it someplace where it hasn't been done in 4 decades, and then really there's no question. Then he is the GOAT because then he's done it in Cleveland, he's done it in LA in the bubble, he's done it in Philadelphia. I understand all of that. Really quickly, in terms of mindset, what's it say about the guy that he's still willing to work and grind and put it in for that amount of money? How much do you respect that?
Man, listen, I just got done working out. I turned 42 in May, and I'm sore as hell as I sit here right now. So for him to still be going out there playing at a high level, especially, let me tell you, man, as an athlete, when you're financially in a position that he's in, you know how hard it is to go out there each and every day, wake up every single day and compete at the highest level when you don't need to. And you got these younger guys out here that's trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get a new contract, and you still going out there and put your body through, 2 long seasons. I just give him credit, man. It's just the longevity. I don't care about the debate of who people like the most or between him and Jordan, who's the GOAT. His longevity, we will never see this again in sports, ever.
Hey, Sean, did you just say that you just finished a workout? No way, bro. Not you. Dude, anybody who watches you on Instagram knows that you're going to get your workouts in no matter what. Even here in SoCal, there you go, running the steps. Even here in SoCal, where it's like about 500 degrees right now. Let me ask you, at this point in your life, you just said you were 42, and no clones, I'm not going to run him for his age. I've got a rule, Sean. Whenever a caller tells me how old they are, I get rid of them. It does not apply to guests. I just want to say that part out loud. At this point in your life, are you about maintenance, or are you still looking to achieve gains, both physically and mentally?
No, it's just about staying with it, man. I think that a lot of former athletes, struggled on that transition because we don't have anything to compete in. As you see, I still box, I still spar, some professional fighters. In fact, next Thursday, I'm going over to Extreme Couture Vegas and getting in with some of the UFC guys. And I just stay with it, man. It's just being consistent, having a reason to get out of the bed and a reason to still compete. And I try to encourage a lot of these former guys to pick up some form of combat sports when they're done because it just helps out a lot.
What about combat sports? Like Jocko, for instance, my guy Jocko Willink, he's all about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like he can answer so many questions with, if you ask Jocko something, what should I do? How do I do this? He's just like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like Jiu-Jitsu is Jocko is great about answering anything, but he uses that as an answer to almost everything. What do you like about combat sports? What's it do for you?
It's the ultimate sport that you have to be disciplined in. I mean, you can go in there, a guy like my size, 260 plus pounds and look good and do all this stuff and have a guy half your size take you down. There ain't nothing you can do about it, right? It's a humbling sport where you got to drop your ego at the door. And back when I started training with Randy Couture and a lot of these guys, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, back in the mid-2000s, Tyrone Woodley, Cain Velasquez, all these guys were around in the gym when I started training. I walked in there with my chest poked out. I just came off of all-pro season. I just, led the NFL in sacks. And I left there, depleted. Right? I left there with my tail tucked between my legs. And so for that point, man, I never left the sport. And that's why I always encourage a lot of these former guys to pick it up. Some guys, look, I think it'll help you out with your hand-eye coordination and as a pass rusher, as a D lineman, a wide receiver getting off the line of scrimmage. I mean, there's a lot of upside in combat sports.
Once again, our thanks to Les Snead. Nobody like him. Certainly nobody in his position like him. Genius. And he and Sean McVay together is such a huge example of why they are so successful. You have two guys that there's nobody like them in either of their positions. Can I find a guy that's like either one of those guys, yet they're both together, and it works brilliantly. All right, so let me just give you another topic before I get to Dave McMenamin next segment. Don't you have enough real drama and heartbreak and controversy, Cleveland? Don't the Browns have enough drama without anybody else needing to create extra fake drama? Manufactured drama? Didn't you all just get jammed yet again by Legault? Don't you guys have enough to worry about without flipping out over very obviously manipulated social media videos? Apparently not. Because apparently now we're making this enormous deal out of Jerry Jeudy allegedly flashing a 4 on an IG live stream in support of the creep, a.k.a. Deshaun Watson.
Creep.
So, do I think that Judy really did flash four fingers in support of Watson? You know, the stream's coming through and people are asking, who do you want? Who do you like? Who do you want? And then he flashes a 4. Do I really think he did that in response to that question? I'll tell you what I think. You want to know what I really think? Who cares? Are we serious? But since everybody in Cleveland is going all Zapruder on this clip today and breaking it down frame by frame, fine, I will give you my take. By the way, if you haven't seen this nothing burger of a clip, we're going to show it to you on the stream right now. There's no sound on that, but if you're watching on the stream, there it is. Holds up 4 fingers, shows it to you both ways. As you can obviously see, it's pretty much the most obvious edit of all time. Conveniently happening right between Judy reading the question, who you want your starting QB to be, and then the dude's there flashing 4 fingers. Again, the edit seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? There's the question. Oh, there's an edit. So no, I don't think that Judy was openly calling for Deshaun Watson to start. I already doubt everything I see on social media to begin with. I mean, I wish I didn't, but I do at this point. But this one was pretty obviously nonsense. Here's the thing, though. I really don't care either way what he meant, because Jerry Jeudy's not the one making the call on who the starting quarterback is going to be. And it seemed really obvious throughout the entire offseason that the Browns are angling to start Deshaun Watson, whether Judy approves or not. So I don't know why anybody is outraged at Jerry Jeudy. Where have you all been? Are you really now just figuring out that it's very likely going to be the creep as your QB1 once again? Because that's not new news. Jerry Jeudy did not break that news. That's not coming out of nowhere. Right? Apparently, the creep has had the leg up. And as for Shador Nation, I have to say, if it's you leading the firestorm against Judy right now, that's not a good look. Even if he did flash 4 fingers in support of Watson, it still would not somehow be evidence, once again, of some grand conspiracy to stop your guy from succeeding. Of all the conspiracies, this is the one I understand the least. Because there is no conspiracy. There never has been. And Jerry Jeudy flashing 4 fingers certainly is not evidence of anything. The only thing that's evident here is that Shador has not clearly established himself as head and shoulders above the rest of that QB room. And Shador clearly does not have the Browns thinking that he's the future in Cleveland, which, for the record, is not the highest bar to clear, is it? No offense, Alvy. Considering the Browns are yet again desperate to find their guy and to have somebody to build around for the future. Why would they want to keep him down? Why? They would love nothing more for it to be Shador. How happy do you think they would be if they found their quarterback of the future in the 5th round? It would solve their biggest problem, a problem they've had for decades. It's just blatantly obvious that Cleveland does not see your guy, Shador Nation, the way you see your guy, or you want them to see your guy, which is why they seem to be lining up Deshaun Watson to start week 1. And again, none of this is news broken by Jerry Jeudy on his Instagram Live. For the record, though, Jeudy did officially deny that he was sending some sort of message in that clip. He posted, quote, "I don't speak on decisions that aren't mine to make. I support my teammates / brothers. I do my job. I control what I can control. Let's stop creating narratives that aren't there for likes or clicks." I bet this won't go viral because it's too positive and real for y'all. Yeah, I bet it won't go viral either because it doesn't give Shador Nation anything to be outraged about. But again, I do believe him because, again, that was a pretty obvious clip edit. And if you needed to edit that clip like that, then he probably didn't actually do anything that was so scandalous or so interesting. Somebody just knew they'd hook Shador Nation and half of Cleveland if they clipped it like that. And by the way, they were right. It worked. It worked. I just can't get too caught up in Jerry Jeudy social media drama when there's so many bigger issues in Cleveland, like how they still don't have a quarterback and still don't have a better plan than trotting out the creep yet again, as if we don't already know that the creep is washed and definitely not the future. And also that you just traded your second best player ever and didn't win bleep with him. That happened too. So Cleveland, maybe you should be way more worried about any and all of that than whatever Jerry Jeudy does or doesn't do on Instagram. Look yourselves in the mirror, and this is not just Browns fan, this is the whole world. Look yourselves in the mirror and see and ask yourself, am I getting hooked? Am I getting hooked that badly? And not only am I that naive, and am I getting hooked that badly, am I getting hooked on things that just don't matter? Things that just don't matter. Is all this anger and outrage making my life better? Is it making me better? Is it making those around me better? Is it making my family better? Is it making anything better? In short, do you have anything better to do? Because there's nothing to see there. Vic and NoCal. Vic and NoCal still badly trying to conquer the chat. Vic wants to conquer another sport badly. Quote, it's not like Jeudy started yelling, Quattro, Quattro. Son, Mad Dog.
Les agradecemos y les decimos que el año que viene lo haremos otra vez.
And Corey Elder, 5843, also on the chat. Maybe they're going to have to discharge the Judys.
Discharge the Judys.
Well done. That was well done. At Jay in Tampa, quote,
A bad girl.
give Tebow a chance. Shador a chance. I mean, there's that argument, right? There's the argument that you know what you have in the creep. Why not just run Shador out there and let's see? Well, listen, I think you tend to forget. He did play last year. Not the entire year, but he did play. And they obviously saw enough to think he's not our long-term answer. But you know what? Let's not give up on him. Let's let him compete. And if he can beat the creep out straight up, then he'll get the job. But clearly he hasn't done that. Because the Monken wanted to go into training camp with a starter already, and he's not. So obviously, neither one of them beat the other out cleanly because they're not entering camp with a clearly defined starting QB1. I just don't know all the outrage, man. Like, because Jerry Jeudy flashed 4, and it's an edit, and he's picking the creep over Shador. Where is this outrage coming from? Shador Nation? And again, I'm just asking you, Nation, why do you think they're keeping your guy down? What do they gain from that? They need their quarterback of the future. If he were that, why would they be keeping him down? Of all the conspiracy theories, that one makes the least sense of all. At Jungle Tourette's, we use the word all the time. Defecacy. No, I said it less need. Efficacy. Good word. I'm weird like that. I like words. I like words. That was a good word. Not only was that a good word that you generally do not hear on this show, because I know none of you clones are using it. Not accurately. He used it, and he used it accurately. V in the Fee. Quote, lobsters shouldn't drive cars, and horses shouldn't drive golf carts. Signed, John Elway. Stay classy, V. I know
Good
it's going to be hard.
afternoon.
I know it's going to be really hard, V, but stay classy.
I'd like to start out this press conference with a thank you to John Fox.
What would John Fox say? When we come back, Dave McMenamin joins me. We'll talk some basketball. That's coming up next. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
Welcome back. That's true. I am Jim Rome. I am live. I'm in Southern California. Tremendous Monday to you. Great to be here. Great to have you here. All right. As promised, we are joined right now by an ESPN NBA reporter. He joined the network in 2009. He contributes to all of ESPN's platforms, including SportsCenter and NBA Today. Also, the co-author with Brian Windhorst of the best-selling book, Return of the King, LeBron James, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the greatest comeback in NBA history. I'm speaking of Dave McMenamin. Dave, really good to have you on the show. Thanks for making time. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, and I'm very happy to join you, Jim.
Good to have you. Thanks for making time. So a large portion of your career has been devoted to covering LeBron for ESPN, both in Cleveland and in Los Angeles, so you know him pretty well. What is your take on how his free agency played out? And then do you think that he struggled with that decision as much as he and Rich Paul would have you believe?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 12 years now that I've been chronicling the teams that he's played for. And really, if you're covering the Cavs and the Lakers, you're covering LeBron 90% of the time. I do think he struggled with it. There was, as I reported, basically, we were in week 2 of 3. LeBron took 24 days before announcing his decision. There were no perfect options. And for a guy who's been able to kind of control everything through the first 23 years of his career, not only have his cake in terms of his salary, but eat it too, and win championships, compete for championships, 4 rings and 10 trips to the finals. There was no one guarantee that any of these teams will get him to the finals. There's been 8 different champions the last 8 seasons. And certainly the financial incentive wasn't there like it's been in the past. I mean, he's going from making $52 million last year with the Lakers to $4 million this year. And so absolutely, from my understanding, speaking to people close to LeBron over the last couple of weeks, like he went back and forth. Rich originally reached out and had conversations with 27 NBA teams. Then they whittled down the list, I'm told, to about 10 teams as realistic options. That became down to 5 teams, and then ultimately the final 3 were all in the Eastern Conference: Miami, Cleveland, and Philly. And quite frankly, there's pluses and minuses to all 3 of those situations. What I find is remarkable is the Philly situation is probably the least safe. But maybe that's what LeBron needs to feel his feet to the fire to fully commit to giving every ounce that he has left in his basketball story. Because he goes to Cleveland, he doesn't have to win. It's fine, right? He goes to Miami, he's been there before. He could say it was just kind of making up for lost time and rebuilding a bridge that was certainly not burned, but it was in disrepair when he left for Cleveland in 2014. Philly, it's like, you better win or it doesn't sync up with the rest of your legacy.
Dan McMenamin joining us. Dave, that was such a good answer that you actually answered a few of my questions that I was going to ask you. That was a really, really good answer. What about Jaylen Brown, for instance? If the 76ers don't get him, are you and I talking about LeBron as a 76er?
Absolutely not. And it was not like Philadelphia had this grand plan that we'll trade for Jaylen Brown and then we'll call Rich Paul and here we go. We're going to get LeBron as a package deal. No. They made their own evaluation on what the type of deal they could acquire Brown for. And it just so happened it made LeBron look at Philadelphia in a completely different light. Not that they would have been completely off the table. There was already some connections there. Tyrese Maxey is one of his favorite players in the league. Mike Gansey was in Cleveland with him his second stint. They were high school competitors against one another. And now he's the president of the Sixers and they have a strong relationship. But Jaylen Brown was the swing piece.
All right, so on paper, they look tough, but not to be cliche, but we know they don't play the game on paper. Super teams don't usually work out. When you look at this, do you have any concern that there's only one basketball and there are a lot of guys who are high usage rate types?
Absolutely. And the thing that I guess assuages those fears or concerns is the fact that LeBron's been through these situations before where he knows it's not going to look pretty every day. And that won't intimidate him from still giving his all to getting that team where it needs to be. They were 9-8, I believe, when they started off with the Heatles. And then obviously 4 straight finals appearances. They were 19-20 with the Cavs in 2014, 2015, 4 straight finals appearances. And so there is to coin a phrase, there is a process to these things. And he's not intimidated by that process. And quite frankly, the Sixers will have to kind of figure things out, and they'll see whether all these players will be the right fit for this current iteration of the team or not. And, that's the high stakes business of basketball when you are LeBron James and you're trying to win a championship or give yourself your best shot every single season. It'll be uncomfortable at times, but he believes in going through that discomfort in the regular season, steals the team and readies the team for a deep playoff run.
All right, so something amazing happened today, Dave, on this program. I had one guest use the word efficacy, and you just used the word swages. This is an all-time jungle first. This has never happened before, so I'm having a day. So when you mention all that, let me ask you this. Who do you think then does the dirty work on this team? Somebody's going to have to do the dirty work. Who's it going to be?
I mean, you'd hope that Jaylen Brown can bring some of that ability. Obviously, we know how much he can score, and he showed it with Jason Tatum being out for the majority of last season for the Celtics. But he's one of the better defensive wings that are in the league today. And so if he can kind of set the tone and be a leader in his own right by saying, well, I'm going to hang my hat on defense, the way we saw Kobe Bryant, 2008 Olympics, where it was, I'm going and volunteering to Coach Krzyzewski that I want to guard the best player, even though he was the best scorer on the planet at that point. He wanted to guard the best player and set the tone for that team defensively. And Jaylen Brown can do that. Beyond that, I think we're going to see, VJ Edgecombe is a tremendous scorer, but he's also one of the best athletes they have on that roster. Can he bring more of a defensive edge? And can Joel Embiid, being the longest tenured Sixer and the elder statesman there in terms of experience, can he be the guy who, while LeBron is holding people accountable, is he going to be the guy holding LeBron accountable right back? Because LeBron needs that sometimes. He's not a flawless basketball player, and he's getting up there in age, as we know, and sometimes he needs to be held accountable too. And maybe that can be a role that Joel brings, being that voice for their defense.
I was going to ask you about that. So if it's always been Joel's team and availability is your best ability and he's not always available, we know this about Joel, man, I mean, whose team is it? That's a lot of alphas with a lot of personality. Then you got some young players on the come up. How's that all going to work?
Well, listen, Joel has already said that this is Tyrese Maxey's team, and Tyrese Maxey was instrumental in the conversation behind the scenes and LeBron ultimately picking Philadelphia. And so I think Tyrese and the way he is, he's a breath of fresh air. Everyone loves being around him. He leads by being himself, and I think he can set the tone there. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the experience that either of those other two guys have, but if they are both showing deference and respect towards Maxey, I think that makes the pecking order easier for everyone to digest. Now, in terms of who's going to be first in the starting lineups, and last, I think it's probably still Joel Embiid because he's the guy who's played his entire career in Philadelphia and won an MVP there. And LeBron, he's going to be the guy who's being talked about on shows like yours and shows on our network at ESPN because he's LeBron James. But I think so long as there is the understanding that there is this appreciation of Tyrese Maxey, I think things make a lot more sense.
No, I think you're right. Everybody loves Tyrese Maxey, and he is still an ascending player. Dave McMenamin joins us for a few more moments. Dave, what about the head coach? I mean, let's not be foolish. Nick Nurse is not just going to roll the ball out and then everything will be fine. And I'm a big Nick Nurse guy, but do you think he's the right guy for this particular challenge?
I asked someone within the Sixers that over the weekend, and their answer was, is anybody the right guy for this type of situation? I don't think anyone is prepared for it until they're in it. And then we'll see. Now, of course, there's a championship stamp on Nick Nurse's resume with Toronto that matters. And obviously, he was a guy whose been as dedicated to the game of basketball as anyone. The way he came up coaching in European leagues, coaching in the G League. So he knows his stuff. And that's the way, LeBron, that's his love language when it comes to a coach. Is if you have a deep playbook and you're able to communicate it and you're prepared for any situation you could possibly see. Nick Nurse has that in his resume. And so how will he manage the egos? We're going to see. Nick Nurse, his reputation around the league is that he has an ego himself. And I used to cover a guy in LA, Phil Jackson, who had the biggest ego in the room, even when Shaq and Kobe were on the team. And so that might actually work in his favor.
That's a great line, dude. Is that true? What's the argument that Phil had even a bigger ego than Kobe or Shaq?
Phil has a very strong sense of self. And I say this as someone who really enjoyed covering Phil Jackson. I have a ton of respect for him. Phil Jackson, you don't give yourself or willingly accept the Zen Master nickname unless you have a pretty strong sense of self.
There's no doubt about that. He certainly did have that. Hey, Dave, we got about 90 seconds. If you had one memory of Kobe and covering Kobe, what would it be?
Man. I mean, really just the 2010 playoff run. That right knee of his was in disrepair. He had it drained 6 times throughout the course of those playoffs. He had the bandage on the on the pointer finger on his shooting hand. Didn't miss a game. Got them to the very finish line, Game 7, and just seeing that leadership. Basically he intimidated Andrew Bynum to play every playoff game that year too, because Bynum also was dealing with a leg injury, and he was like, "Dude, if I'm 5 years older than you and I'm going through this, you can do the same thing." And it took every ounce of that leadership and that effort for them to beat the Celtics in Game 7. So that to me is like that playoff run encapsulates what he was all about.
Perfect. He's an ESPN NBA reporter. He joined that network in 2009 on all of their platforms. Dave McMenamin joining us. Dave, really appreciate you spending all that time. Great to have you on the show, Dave. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for joining.
Appreciate you, Dave McMenamin. Good stuff. Good content. 2 really good interviews today. All right, when we come back, top of hour number 3, I want to start you off with a new topic. I want to talk about, hey, Frisco fan, weird times with the Niners. That's a weird story. I'm not making light of it with his voice, but it's really unusual. I mean, if you want, we could talk about the substation. I think that's what you probably would rather talk about. Hey, Rome, can you not mention the Junior Lobster and just stick to the substation? I mean, I could. Anyway, that's your topic next hour. Joe Vardon. Joe, awesome to see you. What's going on, Joe? How you doing?
My man, and you know I bring some Cleveland clones with me to today's program. They're watching, because hit me up on the side and I tell them I'm on Romy today. So that's just how it goes.
You know what's great about that? Not only do you bring insight and content, you bring eyeballs and clones. So another good reason to have you here, Joe. So and I appreciate it, the long national nightmare is in fact over. LeBron has made his decision, choosing to sign with the 76ers. Knowing him as you do, does the decision surprise you at all? And then why do you think he chose Philly?
Okay, no, it doesn't. And I don't mean to make that sound like I knew this was coming or I'm smarter than anybody else in the room. I had just always been saying that when LeBron decided not to go back to Los Angeles, that we couldn't assign any set of beliefs or what we think he's thinking to him, because everything that he had been doing and saying for the 8 years that he had been in Los Angeles is that's where he was going to end his career. He was comfortable in the community. He lives there. His wife and daughter are very comfortable there. Bronny's on the team. So once that happened, it really became what was interesting to LeBron, and there was no way you could really know. We were sure that he didn't feel like he owed anyone anything. He wasn't beholden to anyone. He was looking for something that interested him. And then now that we know that it's Philadelphia, you think about it, he loves Tyrese Maxey and works out with him. He believes in Joel Embiid and has a track record with him, going back to at least 2024 with Team USA. And he's got a ridiculously good defensive player in VJ Edgecombe at the other guard. And then, of course, they traded for Jaylen Brown. So now you look at all this, you throw in that Nick Nurse has won a title before as a head coach, and it's an interesting sports market to him with a really excited and active fan base, we'll say, in Philadelphia. I'd also add, Jim, that there have been times throughout his career where he has noticed Philadelphia. And maybe Philly was never the top of his list when he was thinking about leaving Cleveland to go to LA or leaving Miami to come to Cleveland. But the Sixers were always somewhere on the radar, excuse me. And then you throw all this stuff together, the Brown trade, the roster they already had, not feeling beholden to anyone. And this was the most exciting opportunity to him.
Joe Vartan joining us. Great breakdown. So, Joe, I agree with you. It makes all the sense in the world to me. I think it's the right choice from a basketball standpoint. We can talk about that roster in a minute. But let me ask you this. Rich Paul said at the very beginning, he's not ring chasing. He's not ring chasing. So if he's not chasing a ring, when in reality this gives him his best chance at a ring, why did he leave L.A.?
Well, you caught me off guard because I was ready to jump all over the ring chasing stuff. I don't think he just felt comfortable on the Lakers anymore. I think that relationship on both sides had quite a bit of strain over the last couple years. And at some level that was to be expected. And I think people close to LeBron, as well as the Lakers, had him retiring by now. That pretty much last year would have been the last year. That was always the plan. And then, of course, the problem is this guy's 41. He's going to be 42, and he's still good. He's still really good. Too good to walk away. So, the relationship had kind of outkicked its coverage or just lasted, as long as it was going to last between LeBron and the Lakers. There were just some hurt feelings on his side over the way the Luka trade went down, and then the way that they reshaped the offense around Luka and Austin Reeves. And then from the Lakers side, I think they were just tired of all the stuff that comes with LeBron, the dealing with him and how he can be moody and sort of how he would continue to hold the Lakers' feet to the fire, even though they had done things like draft Bronny and give him a guaranteed contract. And a couple years before, they had traded for Russell Westbrook when they had other deals on the table. So, I think both sides had just about had enough. And so, rather than retire, he decided that he wanted to keep playing, but he was ready to move out of his personal comfort zone of living with family in Los Angeles.
All right, I mentioned it last week. We've had a number of people who have not been on the show before. And when you've done this as long as I've done this, it's always fun to talk to somebody new. Dave McMenamin had never been on the show before, so that was fun. Really good content, really good conversation. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I have. We're trying to get you some new voices or voices maybe you haven't heard before on the program or not in a long time. All right, so we start hour number 3. You've already... If you've been watching or listening, you know the topics we've been dealing with. I can reset those. Normally, that is my job, but there's some other things I want to get to as well. In the meantime, you can call the program if you want. If you want to hit me up on X, go ahead and do that. You obviously have found your way into the chat on our YouTube channel, which is great. And it's still okay to email us too. Rome@haveatake.com. Stucknut Radio is in. This goes back to the Patriots and the discussion about Bill Belichick. Quote, Nick the Clone built that dynasty. Yeah, pretty much. But the question was, what happened? It was always the conversation. Which one was more important? And it's hard to imagine that it was actually ever a conversation, Brady or Belichick, because we saw what happened when they separated.
Clones?
Romy, okay. I just want to read this because it's not on the chat, showing that I'm not only partial to the chat. Romy, I don't think Coach Belichick is a Hall of Famer. When it comes to epic man boobs, I retain that crown. Signed, Silk Bra. Bra. Bergie in Florida. Going back to the story of the morning, Michael Lombardi put on administrative leave from UNC. This says, hey, Michael Lombardi, the world needs plenty of bartenders.
World needs plenty of bartenders.
Signed UNC. Except he was reportedly the highest paid GM in the nation. So he's not looking to be a bartender. Quote, no days off. No days off. Unless you're Lombardi, then you're off indefinitely. Signed, the Hoodman. Jesse in Laverne. Also, looking for your ATPs this hour. All right, so, clones, get ready, because it is your favorite time of the day. Your favorite time. And I waited until hour number 3. I know I made you wait, but it is your favorite time, tin foil time. And who is the object of rampant internet conspiracy theories today? Aside from Shador. I'll give you a hint. Frisco fan is leading the charge. And this time we're not talking about an electrical substation. We're talking about your head coach. And when you talk about head coaches in the NFL, you'd be hard-pressed to find a head coach with more power than this head coach. We're talking about the junior lobster, Kyle Shanahan, in that really scary car accident that he got into earlier this month that we're only now finding out about for some reason that I'm still not clear on. Actually, the reason we're only now finding out is actually pretty obvious. It's because now they have to tell us. Clearly, they didn't want us to know because they held on to that info as long as they possibly could. But Niner practices have started, and Kyle can't run them to his normal capabilities, although he's been there. So here was the bombshell statement, and the team knew that. So they had to get out in front of it, but not when it happened, only when they had to. Here's the bombshell statement from the Niners on Saturday morning. San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan was involved in a car accident last week where he suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis at the start of training camp while he recovers. Coach Shanahan and the 49ers organization would like to sincerely thank all first responders involved for their efforts and care. Assistant head coach Chris Forster, along with team coordinators, will handle head coach responsibilities during this period. All right, so that statement on Saturday from the team. Few reactions to that statement. Number one, let's all be happy and relieved that everybody is okay. Head-on collision where he suffered some severe injuries, and strangely, the car that he collided with, there were no injuries in that car. But second of all, I do have to ask, again, why are we only now finding out about this? I think it's a fair question without attaching any sort of conspiracy theory to it. Why did it take that long for this to come out? Why did we only find out about this on Saturday when it happened days and days and days prior to that? How did they keep that under wraps? Why did they keep that under wraps? If there's nothing to see here, why was that news not reported right away? Did the media not know? Did the media know and not report it? That doesn't seem likely. And then why would the media not know? I mean, car crashes happen. So that whole thing seems a little sketchy, doesn't it? Seems a little sus, doesn't it? If there's nothing to see here, why did we not know when it happened? And why did they not only let us know when they had to let us know? A little unusual, little sketch, little sus. Especially because it impacts the most powerful person in that organization and his ability to do his job. As I mentioned earlier, when was the last time you heard of an NFL head coach in the protocol? And they've said, we're pretty much treating it like a player in concussion protocol. So it does impact his ability to do his job. So that makes it newsworthy. So why did we not know? I'm not saying there was a cover-up. I'm just saying how unusual that we didn't know. Now, another big takeaway, and let me just veer off this way for a minute, and listen to what I'm about to say, because I mean what I'm about to say. Way to go, Chris Forster. This is not tongue-in-cheek when I say this. I know you think it is. I know you're waiting for the punchline. I'm actually really serious about this right now. I'm not even trolling even a little bit. Yes, we have had our fun with Chris Forster and at his expense for years. But that's inevitable when you're an NFL assistant known for blasting rails of the Bolivian marching powder, both on camera and inside an NFL facility, to send to, well, whoever was on the other end of that. Because he was clearly speaking to someone as he was hoovering all that booger sugar.
Hey, babe.
Whoever Babe is.
Hey, babe.
Anyway, we're showing the graphics of what he said, and the subtitles are there, and they're absolutely incredible. If you run that back to the beginning, XCR, I'll actually read them. Here he is on camera blasting rails. Play with the sound if you don't mind. I mean, this guy's blasting rails of the Bolivian marching powder. Roll it.
Hey, babe. Miss you. Thinking about you. How about me going to a meeting and doing this before I go?
How about that, Coach? That is wild as hell. I agree with you.
There's those big rains falling, but I miss you. I miss you a lot.
Thanks for referencing the big rains falling, but that's true. Bro, you have like boulders falling out your beak.
No, babe. It's going to be a while before we can do this again, because I know you're going to keep that baby. But I think about you when I do it. I think about how much I miss you, how high we got together, how much fun it was. So much fun. The last little bit before I go to my meeting.
Holy crap.
Is that fucked up, babe?
File this again under audio bites that we played over the years that sound amazing, but when you match it up to the video, it's absolutely insane. That's an NFL assistant running video of himself in the Dolphins facility blasting rails of snow. Multiple rails. And saying things like, I think about you every time I do this. Hey, how about me doing this right before I go into a meeting? My guy, be careful who you roll with. You sent that to the wrong person because that got out. Now, okay, so I could make fun of the guy and say, this is the guy you're turning the franchise over to while we wait for the junior lobster to heal up. But here's the thing. What's amazing about that video, and we've played the audio over the years, and over the years, because basically it's my job to play it over and over the years. However, I can appreciate that when you're that guy, how in the world could that guy ever work in the NFL ever again after that dropped? It would seem impossible, wouldn't it? Much less getting anybody to trust you ever again in the NFL. And I know that it might be a league of second chances, but, for who? For what? You better be pretty damn good at your job as a player or as an administrator or as a coach. So how are you going to get somebody to trust you after that? Let alone somebody like John Lynch. Let alone somebody like Kyle Shanahan. And now, in their moment of need, when they need leadership and stability and somebody trustworthy and somebody to lead from the front, until Kyle gets back to 100%, who do they choose? Our freaking guy, Forster. It is amazing. And honestly, this dude deserves a ton of credit and respect. Not for wrecking the inside of his beak with the yayo. You know me. I'm all about reinvention and accountability. I love what this guy's done. This guy literally nose candied his way out of the NFL. And apparently took 2 years to work on himself. And then was secretly hired by the Niners, because how were they going to explain that? They didn't even publicly announce it at the time. And he got back in the door, got himself clean, and just started to work his way back up. Game planning assistant, then the offensive line coach, then the run game coordinator, then the assistant head coach. And now, at least temporarily, he's the guy holding it down, running things until Kyle Shanahan is back in good enough shape to do it himself. I mean, pretty incredible, honestly. Pretty impressive. And incredibly unlikely. And yet, and I have as much to blame for this as anybody, no one's giving this guy any credit for it.
For real.
Because, and by the way, McMenamin saying that Phil Jackson had a bigger ego than either Shaq or Kobe was amazing. For real. But look at Forster. And I'm not absolving myself or pretending like I had nothing to do with it. Believe me, I probably played that clip as much as anybody. But getting mocked by me and everybody else who remember that insane Bolivian marching powder video, but not getting any love for the way he recovered. It made it all the way back from that insane Bolivian marching powder video. So I just thought it would be more productive today rather than try to figure out exactly what the hell happened to Kyle Shanahan. And again, I find that all very sketchy and sus, but I'm not going to speculate because I just don't know. I just want to know why we didn't know until now. I want to know why there's no details at all. So without knowing that, I'll talk about what I do know. Forced to rebuild himself completely and his career. So I want to give him his props because I've taken more than my fair share of shots at this guy. I want to give this guy props for getting the help he needed and it's seemingly right, and rebuilding his career, as opposed to recklessly speculating about how the Junior Lobster got into such a severe wreck only a few minutes from his home with seemingly no alcohol or drugs involved. And I don't know how it happened. And I mean, it could have been so much worse. It was bad. Like 40 stitches, multiple broken ribs, a broken beak, and a concussion that he still is suffering symptoms from. There was one report floating around today that he nearly lost an eye. So again, how did we not find out about this until they had to tell us about this? And how did they keep that away from the Frisco media? How did that not leak? How did nobody know? It all seems a little unlikely to me. But again, I don't know. I just don't know how a guy that prominent in the business, certainly in that organization, has a busted beak, multiple fractures of his ribs. Oh, broken hand too. He needed 40 stitches in his face.
40!
And we didn't find out about it for weeks. Yeah, not bizarre. Not sus. And by not sus, I mean pretty sus. But I don't know. Law enforcement said drugs, okay, this is weird. Drugs and alcohol are not believed to be involved. And thankfully, everybody's okay. Not involved or not believed to be involved? I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of questions, and they haven't really even given us a single answer. So yeah, it seems pretty sus, but I'm not going to speculate because I don't know what happened. If there's nothing to hide, I just want to know why the public wasn't informed or why this wasn't made newsworthy when it happened. Why not just say what happened? If there's nothing to hide and nothing happened other than car wrecks happen, why not just say that's what happened? I'm just asking the question. I'm not speculating. I'm just asking the question. It just seems very unusual to me that we didn't find out about it until we had to find out about it, until they had to say something. Because if the guy's not running practice the way he's not running practice, then people are going to start asking what's going on here. So rather than spend a lot of time on that, I'm just going to speculate on the unbelievable bounce back of our guy, Forster. Man, what a hell of a journey back. A hell of a journey back. That is such an impressive journey back. I don't know what's crazier. Filming yourself hoovering lines on camera in an NFL facility or actually making it back to a position of prominence in the NFL after filming yourself hoovering lines on camera in an NFL facility. Either way, dude, you are one of one, a legend. Actually, not either way, both ways. Welcome home, my dude. Welcome home. I would imagine, and I don't know because I don't really have any experience in this type of thing, but I would imagine the Bolivian marching monster is always lurking in the background. My guy, never go back. Never give in, never go back. Because rather than being an object for me to mock, you have incredibly become a source of inspiration. I mean that. So don't let yourself or those around you down. And more importantly, don't let me down. Don't make me regret this first ever positive take on you. Welcome home.
How about me going to a meeting and doing this before I go?
I mean, does that mean I retire that? Do we retire that? Nah, it's too good to retire. Until somebody scrubs me and Everett rolling around on the internet, that's not getting retired ever. You don't retire anything from the internet. It's just there. It's always there. Jamie in Green Bay's in. A great second chance for Chris Forster. Hopefully he doesn't blow it. One 800-636-8686. All right, so Scott McCrate, 551, quote, man, dude is toast for the rest of his life. Knucklehead. Bro, this is my point. If you said that when it dropped, yes. But it's not true. He's worked his way back. Like, he's worked 8 years with the 49ers, a great organization. He has spent 12 years with Kyle Shanahan total, and he's been in the NFL 33 years. So he's not toast for the rest of his life. I mean, yeah, that will be a chapter that he can never take out of the book. You can't rip the pages out of the book that include that chapter. Bro, he's not toast. He has a very important job in a very important organization. Like, they've given that guy a lot of power. I just said I just did a whole take on it. He's running the team with the help of other coaches and vets, but he's the key guy that they're looking to until Kyle is right. So he's not toast for the rest of his life. Granted, that must be the first time you've ever seen that video. If that's the first time you've ever seen that video and you thought that happened recently, I can see where that'd be your reaction. That would be the correct reaction. If you've never seen the video and you thought that happened this weekend or this week, then yes, that would be an appropriate reaction. But that happened a while ago. It will never not be incredible that dude thought that was okay. Doing drugs in an NFL facility, not okay. Turning the phone around on you, doing drugs in an NFL facility, not okay. Sending that to whoever he sent that to, not okay. Yet he made it back.
There's those big rains falling, but I miss you.
Guy made it back. C. Dovez 78, quote, devil's dandruff. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love slang for drugs. I haven't heard that one. That is the devil's dandruff. That is the devil's dandruff. Joe 56984. Yeah, there are those that are feeling like this has Tiger vibes. I didn't go there. I just said it just seems odd. He wrote, "Hey, Rome, there's nothing suspicious about Kyle Shanahan wrecking his rig." Signed Eldrick.
I was just talking to the president.
Yeah, Eldrick back in the day here in LA, or up the road in LA, jumping the curb and absolutely destroying his leg early in the morning on the way to a shoot. Pretty sus. Pretty sus. All right, when we come back, I'll take your reaction to any of this. Also, ATPs, if you don't mind, why don't you hit me up? Or if you don't want to talk to me, ask anybody on the crew anything you want. That's the whole point of the ATP. Want to boost your career prospects quickly? Work your way toward a degree or supplement your skills with short-term credentials from University of Maryland Global Campus. Skills-focused, career-ready, undergraduate and graduate certificates can help you add specialized skills that help employers value. All from an accredited university, state university. Apply right now and save with no application fee. The classes do start August 12th. You can learn more at umgc.edu. Once again, great opportunity. umgc.edu.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
All right, welcome back. So I'm still looking for ATPs. Ask the pros. I'm not going to show it to you right now, but, and you know, this is a big Buffalo Bills house. And I'm not one to, you know, follow the mob of sheep off the cliff. But I can't say that I disagree with the mob. Man, those new uniforms are pretty grotesque, pretty ugly, pretty revolting. Like, I can't unsee them. Mafia, would you buy one of those? You know, isn't that what alt uniforms are for anyway? Just merch? Would you buy one of those? And then who cleared that? Who looked at that? Yeah, that's fire. I love that. Like, I don't even think I could, in good faith, show it to you. If you want to go see it, you can find it easily on the internet. I just don't know that I could, in good faith. All right, there it is. The Bills' official account. Resilient. Gritty. Blue collar. Hashtag Bills Mafia. I mean, it doesn't look like the Bills. It doesn't look resilient. It doesn't look gritty. It doesn't look blue collar. It really doesn't even look like the NFL. Arena League. As somebody said, it looks like Boise State. No offense to my friends at Boise State. Look at that helmet. Is this the UFL? I mean, that looks like some minor league bullcrap. No offense. Listen, guys, NFL players, they care a lot how they look. They care a lot about how they look. And never mind that whole Dion look good, feel good, get paid good kind of thing. I mean, they care how they look for a number of reasons. One, vanity. But number two, they're gladiators, man. They're getting ready to go to battle. They're getting ready to go to battle. They care how they look. Man, they want to look swaggy. Like, before you do something like this, and maybe they did, and maybe I'm off base here, wouldn't you run that by the players? Wouldn't you run that by the leaders in the locker room? Wouldn't you get a sense of what the team thinks? Maybe the team likes it and everybody else hates it, but seemingly everybody else hates it. Bleacher Report Gridiron, quote, Bills just unveiled their new Nickel City alternate uniforms for the 2026 season. Yeah, I don't know. And by I don't know, I mean, I really know. That's whack. Am I right, Dell?
That's whack.
Hey, as long as you're going to that new stadium, why don't you go full Boise and just drop some blue turf in there?
That's whack.
Look at those helmets.
That's whack.
There's nothing about that looks NFL to me, personally. I'm not saying you should look like everything else or look like the way, I mean, they're alternate, right? They should look different. Looking different's fine. Looking like that is not. Hey, Bills fan, I'm just curious. Did you rush out and buy your gear yet? I wouldn't. Also, another story. Tony Romo backed out of a golf event in wake of his Owie arrest. Right. Because if you were to show up for the next event, TMZ's got that story. If you were to show up for the next event, there would be a whole slew of questions about him getting picked up for Owie. Operating while under the influence. So he's not playing. Another big story from over the weekend. John Summerall's wife was asked a question. And the question was something along the lines of, what do people not know about your husband that they maybe should know about your husband? College transfer portal online, quote, Florida head coach John Summerall's wife just exposed his soft side. Quote, he loves pedicures. That's his favorite extra thing to do. Every 2 weeks during the football season, John loves to get a pedicure. So people were having a field day with that. I would imagine he's not the only one, but might be the only one whose wife admitted that he does that. Hey, man, whatever it takes to take some of the edge off. You know, I've told you famously, I was once, when I covered the fights, I got one of my big breaks when I started in the business by covering boxing events. And I would go to Vegas a lot. I went to Atlantic City. I even remember covering fights in Lake Tahoe, of all places. And I interviewed a lot of fighters. And I remember Evander Holyfield was fighting, and I was angling and efforting, trying to get an interview with him. And they finally said to me, you can tape an interview. You can tape it while he gets a pedicure. I'm like, sure, I'll do that. And sure enough, we were in Vegas in a hotel, and I went up to this room, and he was getting a pedi. Now, boxers, I understand. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of good reasons why a boxer would get a pedicure. I mean, footwork, for real, footwork is everything in boxing. I could see why he did that. He wasn't doing that just because he wanted to relax, or he wasn't doing that because he thought it'd be kind of nice. There was a technical, practical reason for him to do it. For D1 coach, I think you're just relaxing if you're into that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I've never done it. I will tell you this. I've gotten a pedicure, I think, maybe twice. Like, Janet's like, just let's do this. It'll be fun. Little Friday afternoon. I'm like, okay. Didn't live up to the hype. Don't need to do it again. Even if Jan says, look, I'm looking at your feet, yo. You do need to do it again. I'm like, well, then you can do it or I can do it. But we're not sitting front and center where everybody walks in. And now I'm not even worried about people knowing who I am. I just was not comfortable with that. Anyway, but John Summerall, he's doing fine, man. He's doing just fine. So if that's part of his routine, so be it. Hey, yo, Wisco. How about The Miz striking out 11 in 4 innings? Freak show. I keep waiting for this guy. Like, look at him. Never mind that he threw 66 pitches over 100 miles per hour. Bro, how is that guy's right arm not 30 rows up in the seats at this point? How is his arm not going to tear right off his body? You know, like that dude, that fantasy dude from ESPN. Gee, that was not right. I take that back. I removed that from the record. Oh, this just in. There was a great white that was in Newport Beach. Hey, Tommy, what was that, 100 feet or 100 yards?
I don't know exactly, but it was close enough to somebody filmed from shore on Newport Beach down the street, a great white breaching out of the ocean completely, its entire body.
Here it is.
If you're watching on the stream.
Good job, XCR.
Give it a second. This somebody's filming from the beach. That's a great white shark.
Fake. That's fake.
Fully out of the water.
Got to be fake.
Take it up with KTLA. They reported it as real. It is supposed to be a very sharky summer. Our waters are very warm. They're like mid-70s right now.
It is like Shark Week. I've seen that.
And it is
everywhere.
actually literally Shark Week as well. So maybe the shark was just celebrating. But look, that is a great white shark breaching out of the water.
Getting some air, too. Look at the vert on that shark.
Being filmed from the beach. Could have been a swimmer out there getting
crazy,
nailed
man.
like that.
I've spent a lot of time in my life. Do they have... I thought there was an angle showing how close it was to that boogie boarder. No?
If you're thinking of an overhead drone shot, no, I think that's a different one. There have been so many great whites around our waters that there are many different circulating videos. The guy taking drone footage is in Malibu. He's amazing. He actually takes a drone out every single day, and he finds great white sharks in Malibu every single day. So I think last Friday, a video went viral of a great white approaching a couple boogie boarders, a couple kids on their boards.
That's the one I saw.
Yes.
That's the one I saw.
And they had no idea. But that's
was
different than
that
this
was in
incident.
Newport Saturday.
This was Newport Saturday. That was Malibu Friday. Here we go. This is the Malibu incident? Yes. Thank you, XCR. Good job.
Great job, XCR. All right, so I won't be going in the ocean for
Look how close.
The rest of my life.
Sorry my voice is like this, but that's what happens. with great whites.
We always talk about it. None of us have any choice in how we go.
No, not like
Only
that.
the knowledge that we will all go.
No.
But I'm going to tell you, one of the last ways I want to go
No.
is being eaten alive by a shark. That's just not. There's no wave in the world worth that.
No, I love the ocean, but man,
I like the
I
ocean.
don't need any of this in my brain.
I even like the ocean a lot. Not that much. Damn, dude.
As we sound the horn to stop the final.
Yeah, that's. I don't want to say that's wild because that word's being wildly overused, but damn, Newport Beach. No, Silk. I don't need you to come in and break it down. All right, so just a few notes. Hey, how about some ATPs? ATPs, XCR. Looking at you down the hall. Good job. Thank you very much. How about some ATPs? Ask the pros. Get them in. We'll have that for you next segment. I am Jim Rome. Good to be with you. No, great to be with you on this Monday. ATPs coming up next, and maybe if there's some reaction, the phones or otherwise, to make it better, I'll do that too. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
It is time to answer your Ask the Pros question, where you clones get to submit a question to at Jim Rome, and use the hashtag Ask the Pros on X. And it is always sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. This one's for you, Melvin. Eric on the South Side asks, where were you boogie boarding in the week that was pick? And do you think you'll give it another try? Thanks. Melvin?
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Melvin.
The boogie boarding picture in the week that was pick. Oh, yeah, that was from the Cabo cruise last year. We were supposed to dock in Cabo, but we couldn't. Oh, there you go. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, that's you, Melvin.
Yeah, I was kind of blinded. I didn't have my glasses on, and the problem was the person before me like totally ate it and like cracked his skull wide open. It was pretty bad. And then I was next, and then
that's a Cabo thing, dude. I told you I was in that bar that one night, and that guy fell out of the tree and cracked his head open. People are cracking skulls in Cabo.
Well, we didn't even get to Cabo, so it was almost worse. Yeah, we couldn't dock, so we had to. We basically had to make most of what we can with the cruise ship amenities, which included, the skydiving thing. Yeah, that was.
Wow, dude, you got after it.
Yeah,
you got your money's worth.
Yeah, the craziest thing was Luka Doncic was in the group next to us, so that was wild.
Not. Stop.
It looked just like him. Him and his family. I didn't know he had. Yeah, I didn't know he had like 4 kids and everything. There was a casino. You're not a cruise guy, right, Jim?
Hell no.
Well, the best part.
Never, ever, 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 under any circumstance ever. I sure hope we don't have any sponsors that are.
I mean, yeah, with COVID, yeah, it kind of changed, my mind for sure, because there's some gross things that are, it just. I mean, you can only clean so much, and there's so many people like packed.
That's
in,
my
like,
thing.
sardines.
Too many people are packed in.
Right. So you just go with a bigger ship, and there's just so much to do. They have like things for the kids to do. So like you can go to the casino. The cruise ships that don't have casinos, I mean, what are you guys doing with that? I mean, come on, you're in the ocean. You might as well have a casino. I remember I did a slot tournament. That was a lot of fun. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
A slot tournament. So you're a slot guy.
So no. No, I am not. But I will do any tournament I could sign up for sure. Oh, yeah, there you go. See
There's
that?
the fam.
See that right there? That's Luka Doncic right behind me.
Yeah, no, it's not, dude.
Right.
Just circling him with a red marker does not make it Luka Doncic.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, you know what? Because that's Pat Riley up against the wall to the far left. So you're right. Maybe it is Luka.
And I told the kids, like, hey, man.
That guy looks about as much like Luka as that guy looks like Pat Riley.
Vincent's a big Laker fan, so I told him, hey, don't bother the guy. Like, let him enjoy his vacation.
Did he ask for a pic or an autograph?
I mean, we were stuck at sea, so it's like you got to just make do. Like, some people get pissed off because they have to cancel all their plans. But no, I made the kids enjoy where what do you always
look pretty
say?
happy there, dude.
Yeah, that's when I just found out we have to stay on the boat. Devastating.
Right. Exactly. It's a cruise ship. They don't always let you off, bro.
So do I think I'll give it another try?
Okay,
I guess.
so then when you showed up like that, were you getting a newfound respect?
Yeah, there you go. That was the plan. Because there's that one shot where that everybody takes, like on Instagram. You're supposed to lay like right there in the
with the arches.
Water. Yeah. Yeah, but I wasn't there. Shout out to Jerry Judy. What people don't realize what Jerry Judy was saying when he was like flashing the 4. He was actually.
I think Albie. I think the question was where were you boogie boarding? But go ahead.
I was boogie.
Anyway, never mind. What did Jerry Judy mean when he was flashing the 4?
Minutes. He was actually flashing 44, which is my new number for the Browns.
Oh.
Yeah. The coaching staff took me aside and they said, you know what we're going to do, Alvin?
I think I see the question. I think you're right.
We're going to make you a joker. We're going to put you all over the field. So they gave me number 44. So I'm going to return kicks. I'm going to move around, maybe play some
maybe
fullback.
Be a gunner.
Yeah, I'm going to do all of that. Line up. So yeah, shout out to Jerry Judy. He wants me to be quarterback. I appreciate the love like that. Thanks, Jer.
Well done, dude. That was amazing.
Thanks,
and here you are, dude, finishing like a monster. Look at that finish. Finishing like a freight train. Alvy. Huge call brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Increase your vehicle's performance with Lucas Fuel Treatment at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Add it to your tank to eliminate carbon and varnish deposits. Get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Treatment for just $9, plus receive 2 times O Rewards points at O'Reilly Auto Parts. That's a good way to start the week. Really happy about that. We had Les Snead, Rams GM. We had Dave McMenamin, ESPN NBA reporter. XR4TI coming off the weekend strongly. Nice job, gang. Clones, good job, good effort. Appreciate y'all watching and listening. Remember, get on over to the YouTube channel because ever since we started airing this show live on YouTube, you can go back and watch any show you want. Not for the duration of my career, the entirety of my career, but since we started on YouTube. It's a really nice feature. Go check that out, see some of the changes. And if you don't mind, once you get there, can you smash that sub button? Just once. That's all I'm asking. Just hit it once. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. We're out.